Hi, my name is Anna Chiron, and I did my project for the hero's journey on the Hunger Games, the first movie and book. All right, that's a picture of Katniss Everdeen, our protagonist, which I'll get into as the presentation progresses. And there's the book. All right, so a brief synopsis of the Hunger Games is the protagonist is Katniss Everdeen. She's the one who takes the hero's journey, and she takes the hero's journey in the form of the Hunger Games. So this book and movie is set in the future, and the new country is called Panem, and there are 12 districts plus the capital. And the capital is given the most resources. The people there are the wealthiest, and they have the most opportunity in life. All of the other 12 districts have to fight for resources. They're given hardly anything. So the Hunger Games is where there are two tributes between the ages of 11 and 18 from each district that are asked to fight to the death in the Hunger Games for the capital's entertainment, and the winner receives extra resources for the year for their district. So Katniss lives in District 12, which is a poor mining country, and there have been hardly any winners from District 12 in the past. The thematic significance of the Hunger Games is to start the revolution against unjust policy and oppressive living conditions. If you are a Hunger Games nerd like me, taking a look at this map here shows in America, it'll show like the breakdown of the districts. So we actually live in the futuristic District 13, which comes into play in the other books. All right, and then this picture is a picture of the capital, so you can see that it's very well kept, much more than the other districts. All right, so the first stage of the hero's journey is separation. So in this stage, our first thing that we're going to look at is the call to adventure. So the reaping is where the two tributes from each district are chosen. And the reaping is where Katniss's adventure begins because her sister, Primrose, who is only 11 years old, had to put her name in once, while people who are older put their name in multiple times, therefore they have a larger chance of being chosen. Of course, Primrose is chosen, and Katniss, without a second thought, offers to volunteer as tribute and take Primrose's place. So right away, Katniss has everybody's heart. Everybody, is looking out for her, thinks that this was such a selfless decision. So here, Katniss accepts her call to adventure. All right, the next part of separation is we're going to talk about the mentor and the companions. So Haymitch is the only previous winner from District 12 of the Hunger Games. So he is asked to mentor Katniss and Peeta, who are the two tributes from District 12, and he is supposed to give them some tips as to their best chance of survival and possibly winning the games. Haymitch is a drunk. I think that's important to note that Katniss and Haymitch really don't get along in the beginning. Katniss doesn't respect him. She just thinks that he's there as a distraction. And then Effie is the other companion, and she's from the capital, but she's extremely sweet, and she has Peeta's and Katniss's she has their hearts. She really looks up to them. They look up to her, and she's a very nice person to them throughout their time. The bottom picture is Haymitch and Effie. Yep. All right, and then the last part of the separation stage we're going to talk about is the crossing of the threshold. So the crossing of the threshold is basically the time from the reaping to Katniss's arrival in the capital. This is where her life is changing. As soon as she accepts to volunteer as tribute, she is swept onto the train that brings her to the capital and therefore to the games. This is a picture of the scene from the train where Haymitch is trying to give Katniss and Peeta some instruction as to what they should be doing to prepare. Oh, I forgot. We have one more that we're going to talk about, which is the belly of the whale, also known as the point of no return. Katniss really realizes how serious the decision to participate in the Hunger Games is when they're standing at the cornucopia. This is a picture of the cornucopia, which is where all the tributes stand in a circle around it. It has all the resources and supplies, and a bunch of people are killed right off the bat after the first cannon starts, and they all run to the middle and fight for supplies. So right before, as the cannons are going off, and she realizes she's about to have to kill people to try and bring resources home and to come home alive because she is the breadwinner of her family after her father's death. So this was very significant. She realizes that she needs to just, hunker down and try and win this thing. All right, going into stage 2, we're going to talk about initiation. All right, so the road of trials. This can be defined as the entire amount of Katniss's time in the arena. So the games themselves. The brother battle is, I would define that as Katniss having to fight against people of her own age. so that she avoids being killed herself. So there are a ton of obstacles that are placed in the arena, such as tracker jackers, which are mutant wasps, which were meant and designed to kill and do end up killing certain people. She also has companions and allies as well as enemies along the way, which is really sad because there can only be one winner. So the fact that she becomes friends with Rue from District 11, who is a very sweet girl, and Rue ends up obviously having to die so that Katniss can live. It was extremely sad, but Katniss did create a lot of allies and then a lot of enemies because of her skill with her bow and arrow. All right, the sacred marriage would be between Peeta and Katniss, who are the two tributes from District 12, because the Capitol decides to change the rules, and all of a sudden, instead of having one winner, they said that there could be two winners if they were from the same district. So automatically, Katniss tries to find Peeta and try to protect him because they're both still alive at this point in the competition. So, the Capitol's decision to do this creates and very much strengthens Peeta's and Katniss's bond, because they're now looking out for each other because they realize they won't have to kill one or the other, that they can both actually survive this. So this picture from the movie is when Katniss finds Peeta. He had camouflaged himself because he was injured. So she, brings him down into a cave, tries to help him, gets him medicine, and you can see that their bond here is extremely strong. Okay, Atonement with the Father. This would be the final scene before the end of the games, where Cato, who's a very strong tribute from District 2, is fighting against Peeta and Katniss. Basically, Peeta is taken into Cato's clutches, but Cato's badly wounded, and Katniss realizes she needs to find a way she's going to have to kill Cato and somehow save Peeta in order to win the games. So this is the biggest battle of all. She ends up being able to push him off the cornucopia into the abyss and ends up winning the games for them. So I put these two together, the apotheosis and the ultimate boon. So the ultimate boon is the winning of the games and therefore accumulating extra resources for your district. And then this moment of apotheosis, what I would say is when Katniss and Peeta have both won, and they're extremely excited. Well, I wouldn't say excited. They're excited that they both won, but they're sad that so much sacrifice had to, be given to these games. And then the Capitol comes on and they say, only one of you can win. We expect you to fight to the death. And the two of them stand there and they're like, we're not doing this. They pick up the poisonous berries, the nightlock berries, and prepare to take them at the same time, a joint suicide. And right before they do so, the Capitol says, no, stop. You both won. And this decision puts them above the Capitol. It gives them more power. So that's why I put that into this category. This is a picture of the berries and them holding hands, like saying we're going to take them together. So this is a huge turning point for the rest of the series because it shows that they're not willing to bow down to the Capitol's rule. And then in the final stage of the hero's journey, we have return. So in return, we have the magic flight back, which would be the train, the same, vehicle that Katniss and Peeta used to travel to the Capitol. They're using to travel from the Capitol, except this time there's a much different mood. Instead of the impending fear, the impending, knowing that they're going to have to kill people in order to save themselves, they're coming home, I would say relieved to an extent, but they also know the weight of what they saw and the weight of what they had to endure during the games are on them. And that's increased their wisdom. That has changed them forever. So now they're returning home, but they're not the same people that they were when they left. All right, this is a picture of the train. This is Katniss, pondering life on the back of the train. So Master of Two Worlds, all of a sudden, Katniss was the breadwinner for her family after her father died in a mining accident, and her mother she went into a state of depression, so Katniss was forced to go out and hunt with her bow and arrow and to provide for both her mother and her little sister Primrose. So now Katniss is not only that person who's well-respected in District 12, but now she's a national hero who not only won the Hunger Games, but she also, by, saying that she would go in the place of her sister, she really got the respect of other people in other districts as well. So now all of a sudden she's perceived as this symbol of hope for the districts. That's Katniss returning home to Prim. Prim's obviously extremely excited, so is Katniss. And then finally, the freedom to live. So since this is the first book of the series, this isn't the end for Katniss at all. It's the end of the movie, but Katniss's impact for volunteering for her sister begins this spark of revolution, and all of a sudden this thing is much bigger than Katniss herself, but she becomes the figurehead And these next two books, Catching Fire and Mockingjay, extremely good. She goes on hero's journeys in both of these as well, but this was the first example of such. So, in conclusion, the theme of the movie, in my opinion, is to be able to use your voice and power to fight injustice. And I think the most important thing to note is that Katniss didn't know that she was going to become the head of a revolution. She wasn't set out for power. She didn't set out for anything other than saving her sister from immediate death because her sister was underprepared for the Hunger Games. So Katniss might not have wanted to volunteer, but she did it because she knew she had to, and she served a purpose greater than herself, which is the whole point of a hero's journey. It's supposed to gather you wisdom. It's supposed to give you the ability to come home with more knowledge than before and ultimately do better with it. So the districts see Katniss' sacrifice, and they see that they're willing to sacrifice their lives as well in order for the better life to get away from the Capitol's clutches. All right, so that is Katniss' symbol that becomes extremely famous throughout the entire series, but it shows it's the power of the revolution, standing in unity against the Capitol, all of that. Amazing stuff. So that's the end of my presentation. Thank you for watching, and I hope you enjoyed.